I remember sitting at my kitchen table late one night, staring at a half finished project, wondering why I even started it in the first place. I was motivated, or at least I thought I was, but somehow the excitement faded, and all that was left was the work. And in that silence, I realized something. Motivation is a liar. It promises energy, clarity, and inspiration, but it rarely shows up when you need it most. What I learned that night and what I've had to relearn over and over and over is that there's a different kind of power, quiet, steady, and almost invisible. It's called discipline. Have you ever heard of it? I'm sure you have. It's the thing that carries us through when motivation walks out the door. And today, I want to explore exactly what discipline has taught me about showing up, about trust, and about becoming the kind of person who can rely on themselves even when nothing feels exciting or guaranteed. This is going to be a special episode of the Fi Guys podcast. Thanks for joining us on today's episode. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Fi Guys podcast, the show where we dive deep into the world of financial independence and personal finance. Whether you're just starting out on your journey or well on your way to financial freedom, we've got the insights and strategies you need to achieve your financial goals.
In each episode, we'll provide actionable tips and real-life success stories to inspire and guide you on your path to financial independence. So, grab your notepad and get ready to transform your financial future with the Fi Guys podcast. Let's get started. The Fi Guys is a podcast dedicated to providing general information and insights on a wide range of wealth-related topics. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not constitute personalized financial advice.
The content provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for professional financial advice. Your financial situation and goals are unique, and the information provided here may not be applicable or suitable for your specific circumstances.
We, the host and the guests of the Fi Guys, are not acting as your financial advisor. We are not aware of your individual financial situations, risk tolerance, or investment objectives. Any decisions or actions you take based on the information provided on this podcast are your own and made at your own risk. I may be a financial advisor, but I am not your financial advisor. And now that the lawyers are happy, let's get started.
So if you're new to the Fi Guys podcast, my name is Dominic James. My co-host is Chris Monzon. Chris is off today. Just going to be you and I today. So it's going to be a little bit of a different one. I'm going to be talking for a little bit, but it's going to be very informational, very enjoyable. And at the end of it, we're going to have some actionable steps to really get you to master discipline and also start becoming the person who you truly know you can be and the person you really should be. So with that being said, let's get back into it. Why is motivation, why does it feel so powerful, but it rarely holds? We all have that New Year's motivation, that jolt of energy. Everybody's with us, right? I'm going to cut the calories. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to stop smoking or using my phone too much. We've all been there. And we all know how that story, unfortunately, goes. It's not a Disney animated film where the bad guy loses and the good guys win and everyone lives happily ever after. No, unfortunately, this is real life. And not to crush everything that you have in your dreams and in your Disney diary. We all know we all have one. But why does motivation always fail? Why can't we get it on the first try? Well, let's get into that. Motivation feels convincing in the moment, right? But it's built on emotion and not endurance. Motivation is often mistaken for commitment because it feels intense and it energizes you at the beginning. It tends to show up when a new idea is presented and hope is high, or when the vision feels exciting, right? In those moments, motivation gives us a false sense of certainty about how long we'll actually last. The problem isn't that motivation is reactive. It responds to how we feel and not what we actually value. Does that make sense? I'll read it one more time. Motivation responds to how we feel, not to what we value. So when our emotions change, the progress slows and the doubt creeps in. When life becomes inconvenient, well, motivation quietly steps away. And I'm sure you can think of 1, 2, maybe 3 times in your life where, man, you were so motivated. You got this new tool, you got this new item, you got this new cookbook. Have you done anything with it? We've all been there. And I'm not going to sit here and shame you. That's not what we're about here at the Five Guys podcast. We're about propping you up, motivating you, inspiring you, and encouraging you to find that 1% that we always talk about, that 1% to get a little bit better every day. Relying on motivation conditions us. It conditions us to wait till we feel ready, till we feel confident. Wait for the right emotional state before acting. Over time, this actually creates a pattern of starting strong and stopping quietly. Not because we lack the ability, because I know and you know that both of us have great potential and great ability to accomplish whatever we see fit. But it's because we tied our action to the feeling instead of the identity. This is something that Chris actually mentioned about maybe 4 or 5 weeks back that I really liked. It was in a viewer mailbag, and we were addressing someone who lacked that amount of self belief. And one of the things that he said was, you have to tell yourself that, hey, I am the type of person that I'm good with money. I'm the type of person who's good with money. I'm the type of person who is disciplined. I'm the type of person that doesn't let motivation control me. I control me. These self affirming beliefs are what teach our brains to really become and go in the direction we want to. Both Chris and I are big believers in meditation and self talk, positive self talk. I know for a lot of us, negative self talk rules the day. And that's something that we need to address as a community, as a country, and on a personal note. We can't let those negative thoughts win the day, especially when motivation dies and those negative thoughts start to creep in. So, a question for the listener: when was the last time you felt deeply motivated to change something? And what happened when that motivation faded? What did that experience reveal about how you've been approaching growth? If you want to pause the episode now, I highly recommend it. Let you guys think and really process that question. If you have an answer, feel free to leave it down below in the comments if you're here on YouTube or on Spotify. Or if you're on, one of the many other podcast platforms that we're on, maybe leave a comment, like the video, all that fun stuff, right? But I think it's also important to write these questions and answers in your notes, to revisit them. One of the things that is so important in today's society is that when we get new information, we don't just store it. That's one thing that I was discussing with ChatGPT earlier in the week, or I guess it is Monday, yesterday, was that I'm creating a little bit better format for capturing information. I have my quick notes that are quick. I've got my cheat sheet notes that I need to reference quickly, and then I have my deep work notes, right? And one of the things it told me to look out for was hoarding of information. Make sure you're not just soaking up information and putting it in your notes just to put it in your notes. Make sure that you're re-referencing it and going back and testing yourself and quizzing yourself and really going back and making sure that you're actually using the information. Now, we say it all the time on the podcast: education without action is just entertainment. And that's not something we want. We don't want you to just be entertained. We want you to take action with this episode. So let's keep going. So, number two, what actually is it? And why is it so often misunderstood? Discipline isn't about force or control. It's about trust. Have you ever heard of that? Discipline is about trust. But when we think about it, like it's it feels pretty forceful. It feels like, hey, I don't want to do this, but I have to. No, it's actually about trust. So let's get into that. Discipline is often the misunderstood as harsh, restrictive, punishing. New Year's, new diet, maybe you know a thing or two about that. Many people associate it with extremes or burnout. But truly, discipline is rarely loud or dramatic. At its core, discipline is the practice of keeping promises to yourself. It's choosing to follow through over your impulses. It's honoring your word, even when no one else is watching. It's honoring your word when no one else is watching. I want to make sure that that's so clear to you guys. We spend most of our time alone. Our coworkers don't know our goals and aspirations. Our friends sometimes don't know. Sometimes even our parents, our spouses, they don't know the goals and the aspirations, right? They don't know that maybe you cut out carbs. Maybe you're trying to eat healthier for the first 30 days. So when someone brings in a yummy pizza and you say no, they're confused. What are you talking? Free pizza? I mean, it's delicious. It's your favorite. Why wouldn't you eat that? Because it's the promise that you kept to yourself. And those are the promises that are easily breakable, but they're also the most important promises you keep. Discipline removes the need for constant negotiation. We've all been there. Cold morning, comfy bed. We said that we were going to work out in the morning. Well, we said that when we were sitting, on our couch watching a basketball game, right? It's easy to make decisions that are hard when you're in comfortable mode, right? You know what I'm talking about. You stop asking yourself whether you feel like showing up. You stop debating your commitments every day. Your decision has already been made. And that's why it's so important to keep those promises to yourself. And people will see that. People will respect that. And to be honest, this for me, more importantly, people will start to move in that direction. When you start instituting an elite level of discipline in your life, people take notice. People want to be like you. People want to move in that direction too. Everybody has goals, everybody has dreams and aspirations for their life. But sometimes they don't have that disciplined role model in their life. Now, typically, when we think of a role model, you might think of a parent, a mentor, right? Maybe a teacher. I say no. A role model could be someone equal to you, a coworker, right? A friend. And I think that's what's beautiful. We talk about it a lot on this episode, well, on this podcast, right? Multiple episodes, that your why has to be strong. And I think, for me at least, inspiring other people through my actions is enough to get me up. I heard something that David Goggins said maybe a couple years back, and I always thought it was interesting. He said, people look at me like I'm a god. I come from the mountains of Rome, from mythological stuff, right? And he's like, no, man, I don't want to do this stuff. Granted, he swore a lot more than I'm swearing right now, but if you know David Goggins, you know this, right? But he's like, man, sometimes I'm looking at my shoes for 20, 30, 40 minutes saying, man, people look up to you, Goggins. I don't want to do this. And it's interesting to me because as a person as disciplined as him, even he fights with discipline. Even he battles with it. And that's the thing. This episode isn't going to be a one-stop shop, a one quick fix. I wish it was, but that doesn't exist. I'm here to confirm that. Discipline is something that you maintain, not something that you necessarily achieve. So I have a question here for you. In your own life, when have you been wanting to feel disciplined instead of simply acting disciplined? And what has that waiting cost you? The cost of waiting is very expensive sometimes. Sometimes we don't even realize how expensive it is. We've all been there. Deferring tomorrow what we could do today, therefore making tomorrow harder and today easier. But that's not a great way to live. And you know that. Life is better when you compound wins after wins after wins. Do today what others won't do tomorrow. Number 3, discipline versus motivation in the reality of daily life. Let's talk real. Let's get real for a minute, maybe 30 minutes. Motivation thrives Yes, I said that. Motivation thrives in ideal conditions. But as you and I both know, life is really never ideal. It's never ideal. It's very rarely ideal. And if it is, it's only for a short amount of time. But that's where discipline wins. Discipline operates on the real day to day life when stuff is imperfect. Motivation depends heavily on external and internal factors. Maybe you recognize a few of these: your mood, your energy, your encouragement level, and visible progress. Discipline, discipline by contrast, is less concerned with how things feel. It functions even when the conditions are imperfect. It doesn't require enthusiasm, only intention. One of discipline's greatest advantages is that it actually reduces friction. Crazy enough. Fewer daily decisions, less emotional resistance, and less internal debate on whether today counts. Let me explain. Over time, discipline creates momentum, not through intensity, but through repetition, through familiarity, through rhythm. Did you also know that repeated behaviors actually create neurological familiarity, reducing the mental energy required to perform them? Do you understand that? I know you do because you're smart, right? That means that the more we decide to be disciplined in a certain area, say waking up early and going to the gym, the more we do it, the more your brain actually makes it more efficient. So the first month, the first, moments when you initially do it, before the habit is a habit, that's when it's its hardest. But once it's ingrained in you, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And your brain becomes more and more efficient. Familiar actions feel easier, not because they are easier, but because they are known. Momentum compounds behavior, not emotion. And there's a difference between behavior and emotion. I want you to focus on that, right? This momentum compounds behavior, not emotion. Question for you, the listener. If motivation were removed from the equation entirely, what would still matter enough for you to show up consistently? And what does that say about your values? Hmm. So, number 4, what does discipline teach you about your identity? If you're still with us on the episode, I really appreciate that. If you haven't already liked the video, please like the video, share it to a friend. We're in the new year, we're trying to grow, and we want 1,000 people, nay, 1,000,000 people to be motivated by this episode and this podcast. And we really want more people to be disciplined to reach their fullest potential. And if you can help someone reach their fullest potential today, what does that say about you? Makes you a pretty good person, in my opinion. All righty. So let's see. What does discipline teach you about your identity? Well, discipline reshapes how you see yourself long before it changes external outcomes. Have you ever noticed that? Discipline teaches you that your readiness is not a prerequisite for action. Your readiness is not a prerequisite for your action. You don't need clarity to begin when you start being disciplined. You don't need confidence to continue when you have discipline. You don't need certainty to stay consistent because you are the type of person that is disciplined. And congratulations at that. Over time, discipline builds self trust, something most of us are lacking these days. I guess that's another question. Do you trust yourself? Each small act of follow through becomes evidence, and evidence is important. Evidence that you can rely on, evidence that you don't abandon yourself when things get hard. Discipline slowly changes your internal dialogue. And that's something that a lot of us struggle with. And that's okay, right? We're not mad or angry or disappointed that, man, this is the way I am. We should be excited about, hey, this is where I'm starting from. And I can go much better than this. I can get much better. I can become so much stronger. That internal dialogue can be positive. I know you turn on TikTok, you turn on the news, and it's like, man, things are nasty out there. It's brutal. And oftentimes, those negative exterior factors soak into our internal thoughts. How can I be happy when the world is this? Why would I even try? Right. And that's a horrible way to think. That's a horrible way to think. Be the change you want to see in the world. Have those positive self talk, have that positive dialogue. To me, it all starts with the discipline, building that evidence that you are who you say you are. You build confidence in yourself, you build trust in yourself. Trust in yourself is one of the most important things a person can do. Another question for the listener: what kind of person are you becoming through your actions that you repeat, especially on the days when no one is watching and nothing feels rewarding? If you want, I recommend pausing the episode now, answering that question to yourself. Number 5, and this will be our final point before closing reflections: discipline, faith, and trusting the long game. Discipline is often an expression of trust rather than control. Discipline requires acting without guarantees, showing up without immediate feedback, continuing without visible results, and trusting that effort has meaning even when outcomes are delayed, right? Take the gym, for example. You might go to the gym for 1 week and you're probably not going to see any change. In fact, I know you're not going to see any change. Go for a month, might see a little tiny bit of change. Go for a year. What do you look like? What about 10 years? From a faith perspective, discipline aligns closely with stewardship, doing what you're responsible for, releasing what you're not, and trusting the process over the outcome. You almost have to fall in love with the journey rather than the race, rather than the finish line. Pardon. Caught me in a moment of thought, actually, where I really love this quote, and I'm going to do my best not to butcher it, but the quote is: "A man will walk further if he enjoys walking versus the man who enjoys the destination." And like we talked about earlier, discipline is a journey. It's something to maintain. It's not necessarily something that's achieved. You can get to a spot where it's like, nice, I'm where I want to be. And then, but you still have to maintain it, right? It's not one and done. I think that's kind of what we're talking about here, and how you kind of have to fall in love with the process of being disciplined. The idea that, hey, I'm not seeing results today. That's okay. Because I know tomorrow I'm going to be stronger than I was yesterday. And that compounds heavily. Understand this: you don't want to be like the average. The average is not good. I don't care what anybody says. Right now, the average is lazy. They are unhealthy. They are not where they want to be, but they're exactly where they deserve to be. I know you deserve more, but you have to work for it. Nothing is given, and you wouldn't want it to be given anyways, because it wouldn't be worth anything. Stuff that's earned is worth a whole lot more than stuff that's given. Where in your life are you being invited to stay consistent? Not because you see results yet, but because the process itself is shaping you. And for our closing reflection, I know I too am sad that we are at the end of the episode. I'm heartbroken, really. Most transformations happen on an ordinary, unremarkable day. Nothing special about it. Average Tuesday, right? Motivation feels powerful, but it's fleeting. Discipline feels quiet, but it's lasting. The most meaningful growth rarely happens during big emotional moments. It happens when you show up anyway, especially when nothing feels special. Final question for you. What is the one commitment you could honor consistently, not because it excites you, but because it aligns with who you want to become? That's going to do it for today's episode. My name's Dom. You can call me Dominic James, either or. If you're new to the Fi Guys and you've lasted this long, I am grateful for you. And I know Chris in spirit, he's grateful for you as well. No, he's not dead. It sounded like spirit. He's still on the earth. He's still roaming about. He's probably doing some jujitsu or something, or climbing a mountain or doing something epic right now. He'll probably be back with us next week. We'll see. But I will be with you here on Friday for the recap of this episode, along with a viewer mailbag that I am very excited to get into. This week, I hope you answer the questions that were presented. I hope you have an amazing week, a disciplined week, and remember not to lose trust in yourself. I'm Dom. He's Chris. We'll see you guys in the next one. This is the Fi Guys. Peace.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.